Look at this assembly line. Every single one of these green airframes represents a fraction of the $400 billion the United States has spent developing the F-35 program. It is the single most expensive weapons project in human history. Yet, defense critics frequently claim that even with this massive budget, the F-35 cannot outfight this, the Russian Sukhoi Su-35 flanker, a jet that costs a fraction of the price. This puts the F-35 in a precarious position. Depending on which defense official you ask, it is either the indisputable future of air power or a bloated, compromised procurement disaster. Resolving this debate requires looking past the physical hardware to analyze the two conflicting philosophies of modern warfare. The American jet began in the late 1990s as an ambitious experiment. The goal was to build a single airframe that could serve the distinct needs of the Air Force, Navy, and Marines simultaneously. The Russian jet took the opposite path. The S-35 pushes the limits of conventional aerodynamics as a hyper-refined evolution of the older fourth-generation Su-27 airframe. Here is the visual breakdown of the trade-off. On the left, the F-35 wagers everything on stealth and sensor fusion. On the right, the Su-35 bets entirely on speed and physical agility. These attributes define two different types of conflict. Stealth and sensors dictate beyond visual range engagements, while speed and agility rule close air combat. This split divides the global aerospace community into two deeply entrenched camps. These jets were designed for different eras of warfare, and each assumes the other's specialty is becoming obsolete. In this 3D simulation, we scale the F-35 down to its radar cross-section, 0.001 square meters. On radar, it's the size of a golf ball. This tiny signature slips through heavy radar nets, winning the fight before visual contact happens. But invisibility alone is not enough. It requires the Distributed Aperture System, or DAS. 6 infrared cameras are placed around the airframe, feeding directly into the pilot's helmet display. This lets the pilot look directly through the cockpit floor, as if it were a digital window, seeing the Earth far below. Integrating that level of stealth and omniscience requires physical compromises. Designers traded away extreme top speed and raw turning capability to fit these systems inside. The entire F-35 doctrine operates on the assumption that if an enemy can physically see you, your mission has already failed. Russia answers that with raw kinetic performance. The Su-35 uses twin engines with three-dimensional thrust vectoring. These exhaust nozzles shift in 3D space to push the jet into extreme maneuvers its wings alone could not physically sustain. This allows the Su-35 to hit a top speed of Mach 2.25 and perform extreme post-stall maneuvers like the Cobra and the Kulbit. But finding a stealth jet still requires a completely different approach. For that, the Su-35 relies on the Irbis-E radar and a passive optical locator system. Look at the difference. On the left, active radar sends out detectable pinging waves. On the right, the Su-35's passive optical cone silently absorbs heat and light, searching without emitting any signal. It's designed to hunt aircraft hidden from active sweeps. The trade-off for the Russian jet is visibility. The Su-35 has a massive radar signature, forcing it to survive a dangerous long-range approach just to force a close-range fight. It operates on the assumption that stealth technology isn't permanent, and eventually digital cloaks will fail, making a close-quarters brawl an absolute inevitability. On paper, the unit costs of these jets seem evenly matched. An F-35 costs roughly $80 million to build, while the Su-35 sits between $65 and $85 million. But the total F-35 program cost reveals a different financial reality. Factoring in lifetime operational costs, the estimate climbs past $1.7 trillion. This stems from using a single design to serve the Air Force, Navy, and Marines simultaneously. Critics argue this forced a specialized fleet into a single compromised airframe. They ask if a mix of specialized, non-stealth jets would have been a more efficient investment. Ultimately, budget constraints and procurement philosophy dictate military power just as heavily as aerodynamic performance does. Public skepticism reached a peak in 2015, when an internal government report leaked detailing a close-range simulation exercise. The report revealed that an F-35 was successfully outmaneuvered in a dogfight by an F-16, a much older, much cheaper jet. The program office defended the jet, stating the test conditions were highly restricted and did not reflect how the F-35 is actually meant to operate in combat. However, if an aging F-16 can achieve this, the more agile Su-35 would hold a severe advantage if the two ever met nose to nose. Forcing the F-35 into visual range strips away its trillion-dollar technological advantages and forces it to play the Su-35's game. The tactical conclusion is clear. The F-35 is designed to win the war before its opponent knows the war has begun, but the Su-35 is designed to win if that war is forced into a brawl. This choice ultimately centers on which branch of this tree represents the actual trajectory of air combat, stealth dominance or radar advancement. If future warfare remains strictly long-range and stealth-dependent, the F-35 is the correct answer. But if detection and radar technology eventually outpace stealth and combat returns to close quarters, then America bet $1.7 trillion on the wrong jet. The sobering reality is that no one knows for certain which future is arriving. The true test is still waiting in the sky.